from the neck down, because he's a physical specimen, he looks amazing. But from the neck up, he is not the same person. So when you look at how badly he was beaten, I can't recall another fight where Crawford looked that good. That's not an accident.
Hey Ringsiders, what is going on? This is your host, Boxing's Objective Observer, and welcome back to Ringside Stories. Or if you're new, we make content regarding boxing through mini documentaries, backstories, and much more. So if you enjoy that type of content, feel free to subscribe, thumbs up, and hit that notification bell for the latest here on Ringside Stories. Thanks so much for your support in advance, and welcome to the channel. Errol Spence Jr. just lost his first ever fight in the professional ranks. Now, what the truth will do from here will be relevant not just for his boxing career, but also for his life. And today we'll talk about 5 reasons why Spence should duck the Crawford rematch. Let's get into it. Number 1, one-sided beatdown. Errol Spence Jr. has never failed in the hard department. Against Terence Crawford, Spence once again proved he's a warrior who rather goes out on his shield than admit defeat by easy way out. However, as Bud's walkout partner once said before he blew up, yes, Errol Spence Jr. got beat up badly, to say the least.
The better man won tonight, not here to make any excuses. I definitely did the same. My time was off and I couldn't capitalize on a couple of things, and his time was a lot better than mine tonight.
And hey, I respect the truth wholeheartedly. What Errol didn't mention, however, was that his problem started in round number 2 when he got dropped by a reversed 1-2.
Errol Spence, he's a tremendous talent. We was worried about the jab coming in because that's how he set up all his shots off the jab. And so our main focus was the jab. You take away his best attribute, and then, the rest is history.
That was Spence's first time touching the canvas in his entire professional career thus far, and it wouldn't be the last. Terence Crawford dominated the fight with the one weapon Spence himself had used so effectively to inflict damage on his previous opponents, the jab.
Well, we practiced that. Normally in camp we do a flicking jab, but we knew that wasn't going to work with Errol Spence because he's durable, he's strong. So we had to practice on a strong, firm jab, the jab with him, and then stop him in his tracks.
At the quarter stage of the fight, way before the double knockdowns in round 7, Errol Spence Jr.'s face was testimony of the amount of times the truth touched leather. Now again, credit where credit is due, Spence kept coming at Terence Crawford in an attempt to defy his inevitable fate. His corner, specifically Derek James, who was Trainer of the Year 2022, showed zero intention to pull his man out of the fight. Meanwhile, Crawford had gone to work without even fully going off, piecing up Spence with all shots outside of the jab, which the power shot stats underlined. I'd like to give a shout out to today's sponsor, LiveGood. LiveGood is a company which promotes 100% organic supplements. These have great benefits for better stamina and great health overall. Not only that, they are promoted at an extremely affordable price. Now, I personally love these supplements because of the fact that LiveGood allows you to make money at the comforts of your own home. Click the link in the description box below and take the free tour for more information. Number 2, not the same fighter. Ever since Errol Spence's life got flipped upside down, literally, he has not looked the same. The man who in May of 2017 traveled overseas to challenge and defeat then IBF welterweight champion of the world, Kell Brook, in front of a hostile crowd in a sold-out football stadium was not the same man who stepped into the ring with tough former 2-time welterweight champ Showtime Shawn Porter more than 2 years later. Now, of course, styles make fights. However, apart from the obvious difference in styles, Errol Spence seemingly wasn't as dominant as he was against Kell Brook. Against Shawn Porter, Spence got hit more, got more pushback, and experienced some iffy moments. Errol's left hook in round 11, which resulted in the fight's only knockdown, seemed to be the tiebreaker in the eyes of many, as one judge had Porter winning, with the fight ending in a split decision, signifying the closeness of the fight. Keep in mind, Errol Spence Jr. fought Shawn Porter before the car accident. In his 2022 fight against then WBA welterweight champion of the world Yordenis Ugas, Errol Spence got tagged in round 6, which looked like a glitch in the Matrix.
Right uppercut. And while Spence is fixated on the mouthpiece, he will get nailed by a right hand by Ugas. Now,
how many fighters have we seen where the mouthpiece comes out and they still fight because they're protecting himself? He literally disconnected, started looking for his mouthpiece because he was out of the moment.
For some strange reason, Ugas failed to capitalize on that particular moment and or lacked the power and resilience to stop the truth from coming back into the fight, which ultimately led to the Cuban's defeat. Even though he successfully unified 3 of the 4 major world titles by stopping Yordenis Ugas, Errol Spence Jr. showed vulnerabilities and certainly lacked the dominance that he showcased earlier in his career when the young, confident Texan broke down a reigning world champion in or close to his prime that forced the boxing world to take notice. Spence's span of 5 years, winning his first world title beating Kell Brook to unifying against Yordenis Ugas, went by without any significant upgrades in Errol Spence's game as a whole, especially when you consider the fact that Terence Crawford ended up fighting 2 opponents, doing a better and quicker job stopping both Brook and Porter. Now it must be said, Crawford fought both those guys after Errol Spence, but the point is that unlike Spence, Crawford showed clear improvements in his game and certainly looked more convincing than Spence against the aforementioned opponents. If anything, Errol Spence seemed to have plateaued for a while up until now, especially when we take a look at point number 3, limited skill set. Errol Spence is great at the basics. He possesses an excellent jab, which has proven to be the start of most of Errol Spence's offense throughout his professional career so far. His front foot attacks, his body punching, combination punching, and his physical dominance. Team Crawford acknowledged Spence's strength, and so Bud completely nullified Errol Spence Jr.'s attack.
The way Earl wins is walking you down, straightforward, and just beating you up. Bud was able to neutralize what he did and took advantage of it.
Errol Spence Jr. is a fantastic fighter, a good champion, yet limited. Terence Crawford proved his brilliance.
Did I just watch Terence Crawford dominate like that? Regardless of who you thought was going to win this fight, did you ever expect it to wind up this one-sided? I am still in shock.
At the elite level in the world of boxing, Errol Spence simply lacks the nuances in his game. The art of feints, great footwork, a decent defense, or the ability to fight on the back foot. All the departments Terence Crawford not only excels in, but also has the ability to switch up in fight, offering unpredictability with a multi-layered element of surprise on top of having faster hands, an elite level ring IQ, which Bud applied to overwhelm, out-hustle, and outthink the former unified world champion. In many ways, more than one, Spence vs. Crawford proved how one's approach to boxing can seem superior to the next, even to the untrained eye. Errol Spence is a great checkers player. Terence Crawford, on the other hand, is a grand master in chess. And so the beating Errol Spence Jr. took wasn't a result of continuous physical practice. It was the truth's inability to comprehend the depth of a whole nother game Terence Crawford played, showcased, and taught with boxing panache.
Unbelievable. The way he controlled every moment of the fight, man. It was a master class, master boxing class, bro.
It was exciting, the whole build up to it and leading up to it too. So it's something that, you know, I wouldn't change for nothing, and I'm definitely open to the rematch, and hopefully it'll be at 154 pounds.
Number 4, Errol Spence's lack of rhythm. Then there are things that kept Spence out of the ring.
Like my whole body was just sore, you know, it was just I guess a miracle from God. And, you know, he really protected me during the accident, because, I mean, anybody else would probably been killed. So, you know, it was just a blessing from God.
The car crash, which by the Lord's grace, Errol was able to not only survive, but also miraculously was able to walk away from seemingly unscathed. Then there was the retinal detachment Errol Spence suffered in the lead up to what should have been the Manny Pacquiao fight. After the car incident, Spence had 3 fights in as many years. Coming into the fight for undisputed against Terence "Bud" Crawford, Spence had been out of the ring for well over a year, whereas Crawford stayed in fighting shape, stayed active during Errol Spence's on and off boxing career. So if a fighter is as great as his last fight, Terence Crawford is sharper than Errol Spence, has more confidence, more momentum, and recency bias working in his favor, which is another reason for Errol Spence Jr. to duck the immediate Crawford rematch. Number 5, Terence Crawford.
I did what I was supposed to do regardless of the outcome. So I did it as a man. I stood up on my words. I'm going to get right back and get to it. Hopefully at 154 pounds.
Even if Errol Spence Jr. has less weight to cut fighting at the 154-pound weight limit, the same applies to Terence Crawford.
47 was kind of hard for me too. I was already talking about moving up in weight and challenging Charlo, so 54 wouldn't be outreach of anything.
The reality is that Spence simply got outboxed, outmaneuvered, outskilled, and outclassed. These facts simply cannot be crossed out by fighting one division north from welterweight. Besides, we are talking about Terence Crawford, the first undisputed welterweight champion of the world to hold all of the 4 major world titles, something all-time great level talents such as Floyd Mayweather Jr. and Manny Pacquiao weren't even able to accomplish, and the first man in the 4-belt era to be the undisputed best in 2 separate weight classes. So having conquered both 140 and 147 alongside holding a world title at 135, being undefeated in 40 professional fights, and arguably the best fighter in the world of boxing as of today's recording. And this is no disrespect, it's just that Errol Spence Jr. does not possess the skill set, the rhythm and momentum, and possibly the mental makeup to compete against, much less beat Terence Crawford right now in an immediate rematch.
I feel good. Like I said, I'm not here to make any excuses. I'm a grown man. I decided to agree to the weight and get down to it, and that's what I did. So take no excuses. Hats off to the champion tonight.
After suffering such a devastating loss to a first ballot Hall of Famer who was on the brink of doing much more damage than any observer may notice at face value, there is no shame in losing to such a generational talent, and the gap is just too wide at the moment. If another defeat against Terence Crawford may not only result in the same devastating outcome, but may also leave with greater lasting damage down the road. With all of the wear and tear in and outside the ring Errol Spence Jr. has had to deal with so far, is it really worth the risk? Leave your comments in the comment section below. If you're new to this channel and you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, give a thumbs up, and hit that notification bell for the latest here on Ringside Stories. It does really help with the algorithm and build this channel, i.e. giving me the inspiration to make more content like this. Now, if you've done that already, you're amazing. We already know that you are the true undisputed world champion. Till next time, Ringsiders, this is your host, Boxing's Objective Observer, with Ringside Stories. Thanks for watching, and have a legendary day.